Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Georgette Taylor, and as always, I'm so excited that you're joining me today. I really have a phenomenal guest, and I cannot wait for her to share her story with us. It's so moving and touching, and I'm sure you'll feel the same way once you hear it. Today's guest is Beth Nance. She is the co-founder and executive director of the North Carolina Museum of Dolls, Toys, and Miniatures. And I want to say thank you so much, Beth, for joining me on the Entrepreneur Podcast today.
Well, hi, Georgette. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. It really is an honor for me to have you here because I looked at your museum and it's just filled with so many beautiful things, like not just the toys and the miniatures and the dolls, but they always have so many stories behind those dolls and the things that you put in the museum. And I'm excited for you to share your stories. So, can you tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then talk a little bit about how you decided to create this North Carolina Museum of Dolls?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, 12 years ago, my mother and I got together and thought, what are we going to do with this beautiful collection of dolls that we have that belong to my sister?
Mhm.
Amy was just 22 years old when she passed away from a
Mhm.
very rare muscle degenerative disease. It's today we know it as spinal muscular atrophy, and it's extremely rare. And Amy loved to collect dolls, and so of course, as two young girls, we had, so much fun playing um, with our dolls and toys. And after she passed away, my mom and I held on to her things,
Mhm.
and I found it very hard to part with a lot of
Mhm.
the things that
Mhm.
Amy collected because they were hers. And
Mhm.
you were mentioning earlier about how a lot of the items in our museum tell a story. And, Amy's dolls were part of my story.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so my mom said, "Oh, well, let's just start a museum." And I thought, "Oh, right, mom, who does that, right?" I had a background in English literature and professional communication, so I never ever thought anything about what it would take to start a museum. But we forged ahead, and now we've outgrown our little 4,000 square foot building
Little
that we
little
started with.
4,000.
And we're located right in the heart of North Carolina, and so we're in Spencer, North Carolina, and we've just expanded and have really found a niche that really helps us remember not only my sister but those people who have collected over previous years and who have a special connection to their history and dolls and toys.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. She's like, "Oh, we don't know how to do a museum, but let's just go ahead and build one."
Oh
Right?
yeah, why not?
Let's just go ahead and do that. Now, you said that Amy was, and I again, just want to say I'm so sorry to hear, that your sister had passed away from that, and just sending loving memories to you and your mom.
Thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome. So, you said she was a passionate doll collector. So, how do you feel like dolls really helped her in a way?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question because I really truly believe she was a big Barbie collector, and I think she saw herself as Barbie. Had she not been afflicted with a illness, she had long blonde hair and blue eyes and
Hmm.
fingernails, and she always dressed so great. And I was the little tomboy. So Amy was the feminine one. We were only 18 months apart,
Oh,
and
wow.
I joke and tell everybody that Amy was the boss. I was the oldest, but Amy was the boss. And so I think being able to see the dolls in their
Mm,
wholeness and their fullness
mm,
physically, I think Amy projected a lot of what her life could have been. She never lived a moment of regret. Now, she was in the
mm,
marching band, she was a cheerleader, she rode horses. Whatever me and my friends and her friends did, she was right there beside us. So I always
mhm.
think of Amy as a trailblazer for
Yeah.
children with spinal muscular atrophy. And most of the children who have the type 1 that she had, typically their lifespan is um, ends around 2. And
Oh,
so the fact
wow.
that Amy made it 11 days
Wow.
before her 22nd birthday is,
Wow.
a
Blessing.
sheer,
Wow.
yeah, a sheer testimony to her zest for
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. That's so true. So when your mom said to you, "Let's do a museum," what did you think about that?
Well, I kind of thought, oh, well, I thought sounded a little overwhelming at first, but I kind of thought, oh, not a bad idea, mom, and my mom has always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so I thought, well, we live in a small town. And I thought, people in our town will appreciate this, And
Right.
at first, I kind of thought, well, we'll just showcase some things from people in the community. And then, really, I always feel like the Lord's blessing has been upon us this whole entire time, because somebody donated all of the cases, and then somebody
Oh.
donated this, and then somebody donated that. And so I set up the museum as a nonprofit 501c3, because,
Mm-hmm.
the purpose is not to make money. The purpose is
Right.
to offer a hub in our community for people who have like minded collecting interests,
Yeah.
people who want to learn too about doll makers and doll artists and doll collectors, and education and preservation. So we do a whole lot at the museum.
Yes.
And I'm just really thrilled at the growth we've seen. And so, like I said, we didn't even anticipate having a gift shop. And then people started saying, well, do you have a keychain? Do you have a magnet? I'd like to have these things. And I thought, oh my gosh, we never really thought about that. So now, after 12 years, I've become involved in a lot of the museum councils here in North Carolina, and
Mm-hmm.
really have spent some time getting education and developing a board of directors. And
Right.
so
Mm-hmm.
we've gone from this homegrown little museum to a new place that's opening on December 7th of
Oh,
this year.
great.
And we're now,
Congratulations. That's
thank you.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. I give everybody else the credit all the time, because I can't, you know how it is. It takes
Uh-huh.
a lot of people volunteering a lot of time and
Yes.
effort to make something really fabulous.
That's
And
so
that's,
true.
I'm so proud of all our volunteers, because everybody's just come together, and we're now going to be in a 9,500 square foot
Wow.
facility with state of the art everything. And I'm just thrilled that
Oh
it's
my
going to be
gosh.
a wonderful hub for hobbyists of all sorts.
That is so beautiful. Just literally think about your mom saying, let's do a museum to where
Right,
you're at now.
right,
Like that
right.
must be mind blowing in some sense, and I'm sure
It is.
your mother is probably still so proud of that too.
Yes, she
So
is.
yeah.
Yeah, she's involved quite a bit too. So when she's retired now, so when she's not playing golf, she's definitely,
Good for mom.
yeah, exactly, helping out.
That's great. So how many dolls did you start with, like in Amy's collection?
Well, Amy actually had a ton of Barbie,
Mm-hmm.
and Amy was, like I said, very high spirited, and
Mm-hmm.
no one ever really told Amy no, because she was the creative idea person in the family. And Amy probably had several, I would say, probably 600 dolls or more. So
Wow.
he had quite a collection. And so
Wow.
when we started the museum, we reached out to all the ladies that were in our doll club and said, would you like to take a case? And why don't you showcase your favorite things? And
Oh,
so we
nice.
started out sharing, everybody's collection with the community. And to me, that's something that we're looking forward to getting back to.
Hmm.
Um, I'll tell you, along the way, folks came in and said, well, I don't want this anymore. Would you like to have it for the museum? And so we were just shocked and honored. And we'd say, yes, we would love that. And then we'd put it in a case and put a little tag that said who it was donated by and in memory of
Right.
this person. And now all of the cases are like overflowing, because we haven't had any climate controlled storage. So
Mm,
our new move is going to really allow us to
yeah.
be able to highlight very special pieces from the collection and put
Hmm.
the things that we don't want to keep out all the time
Right. Right.
away in our
Away.
new
Hmm.
climate controlled storage. So we're
And
so
preserve
excited.
things better too.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah, I get
absolutely,
that. Yeah.
absolutely.
That is
So,
so
but
great.
yeah,
That's so cool. I just love it. I just love the fact that, like you said, it was a big community effort.
absolutely.
You sharing dolls or the things that, people, like you said, come across or that their parents had or their grandchild house, anything like that, and they just wanted to donate in memory of them, or just because it's a beautiful piece that, the person that they love spend
Right.
time with,
Right.
so
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And so
yeah.
all those wonderful donations have really helped us round out all of the exhibits.
Hmm.
And when we transition over into our new place, because it is at the holidays, we're really looking forward to, having sort of a Christmas through the decades and holidays
Nice.
around the world. And, we intend to include,
Hmm.
Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and
Hmm.
all of the
All the
holidays.
holidays,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
everybody feels welcomed
Yes.
and included, and that's also a great way to educate people
Hmm.
about
That's so
traditions.
true. That is so
Yeah,
true. That's so true. So it would be a great space for that, So that's so cool. I can't wait. I mean, I'm not that far from North Carolina. I may have to come take a trip over there.
absolutely,
A trip over
absolutely.
there to see that. So I know, you curate dolls or get dolls and toys and miniatures to come into your museum. I know you work a lot with the stories behind a lot of those things, because that's kind of really what started the
Yes,
museum, right? Was the story
yes.
behind your sister having these beautiful dolls, and you wanted to be able to present that. So could you share some stories, I guess, that kind of has sparked your interest, or
Oh, I
you know
would
what I mean,
love
that was
to.
just really, really powerful?
One of the things that I do love so much is the history
Hmm.
behind all of the pieces. And so, one of the sets, we have a little tea set in the
Oh.
museum, and it's a children's tea set. And it doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's very special to me because I love the story behind it. And there was a young lady who lived in England during World War II. And so, when the air raids,
Hmm.
alarms started going off, she would always grab this sweet little tea set and take it into the fallout shelter with her. And so, it has a few chips and a few cracks, but that's okay because that's part of the story.
Yes,
That's
yes.
and I feel like we can all relate to that because as humans, we always, we're sometimes have a little chip or a little crack, but we're always better for those because they've, taught us lessons along the way.
Yeah.
So I love that tea set. And then there's in the case, we have another little doll that goes with the tea set, completely different donation. It came from the state of a lady in town. Her name was Jessie Edwards, and
Mhm.
Jessie's parents, before the war, while the World War II was going on, her parents had two young men from church come over after church and have dinner with them, and they went off to Germany. And part of their job was going through the towns and
Mm.
clearing out
Mhm.
once the Germans had been
Right.
liberated. Yeah. So
Liberated, right.
once the Germans had been liberated, the uh, two guys from Rowan County
Mm.
would go through, and they were clearing out a school and making sure that no one was there. And they
Right.
found this sweet little rag doll that was laying on the floor, and I mean, it was just made out of
Oh.
scraps of
Mhm.
clothing, and it has a hand stitched face, and I just think that is such a sweet
Yeah. Yeah.
piece,
To
and
go
it
with that tea
yeah, to go
set.
with the tea set.
Yes.
And so when
Yes.
children come in, we can tell them about World War II and use pieces like those two to highlight,
Yeah.
parts of our history.
That's just so touching, though. Like you said, to connect that tea set to something that, a young lady would take with her to feel safe, right? When things were
Yes.
being bombed, to after all the bombing, to find a doll that kind of made it through all of that, then to put that together, like you said, to create that, that narrative, for
Yes.
somebody to come along and see that
Absolutely,
story.
because you
It's
can read
beautiful.
about it and you can see it in a book, but when you
Yeah.
can, like, physically put your hands on the doll or the tea set,
Yes.
that really does connect us to history.
Wow. I love it. I love that fact that, did you get a chance to really talk about history in your museum? And it's not just like,
Yes.
oh, that's a really nice doll. Like, there's a
Right.
history behind all the toys or the miniatures, it's a
Right.
history by whoever was playing with that, right? Their love for that. So I
Right,
think that
right.
makes it so much more
And
important.
I think too, all of the pieces that we have, dolls and toys and miniatures, they're not just playthings. They really are a
Yes.
snapshot into our culture. You can pick any one item at the museum and look at it, and it gives you an idea at any point in time what was going on in history, what we were celebrating in our culture, what the times were
What the
like,
times were
So,
like. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. But I think that that's why, and I was going to ask you that, like, why do you feel that dolls are so nostalgic for people, or just, what draws people into collecting them or making them or creating them?
Mhm.
And I think it is that because it's a piece of something that makes somebody feel safe. And dolls have been around forever, really. I mean, whether,
Right.
whether, like you said,
Absolutely.
it's hand stitched or whatever, sticks or whatever it is, but it's just
Right.
something there to make, it's a connection that
It
another
is.
person has, that makes them feel safe when everything else around them is not for them. So yeah, I know you have a lot of other exhibits. What other kind of exhibits do you have in there?
Well, we have a toy soldier exhibit that's fairly popular,
Oh, cool.
and over 20,000 pieces were donated to the museum by a
Wow.
fellow school teacher in Fuquay, North Carolina. And he used the toy soldiers to teach about history and the French Revolution. And so I think that is amazing. And I think he told me it took him over an hour to paint each little piece. And
Hmm.
they're all less than an inch in
Oh
height,
my
and I think,
gosh,
oh my
yes.
goodness, but I think it's just like you say, it connects us all through time and space. And honestly, I feel like our museum is like a little time capsule, because you come in and you can, really be transported back to anywhere just by, you know, um, looking at what
Looking
we
at,
have on display in the cases. Yeah.
now you do have interactive things there, right? You do have
We
interactive
do. Yes,
exhibits for
we do.
children. So what are those like?
Absolutely. Well, currently we have an I Spy, and
Oh, that's cool.
it's pretty neat. That's one of our easiest interactive pieces. The kids just grab a clipboard from the front counter and they go
Hmm.
around and they complete the I Spy. And then we have also what's called a curriculum called What's in the Bag. And so kids can take items that are in a little bag that they get when they come to the museum, and it'll have instructions on where to go, what to see, what to
Oh,
do.
okay.
And
I
we've
like that.
it's pretty neat. It's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
neat.
pretty
And
neat.
that was created by Dr. Julie Jocelyn, who's our educator. Um, we were just blessed to find her. She lives in the community and helps us out, a few hours a week. But we now have curriculum for first, third, and fifth grade that's approved by the state of
Wow.
North Carolina. So
Oh,
it's been a wonderful addition. And it's also kind of fun for adults. I mean, I told
yeah. I
I
was
said
gonna
some
say
of
that
these.
that sounds so cool. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that. Like, wow, that'd be really neat. Like to see what's in
Uh,
the bag or even I Spy,
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so, and then we have a scavenger hunt that is for adults because we all know there's a kid inside, right? Each one of us, and we like to play and have fun. And so, we have a big hands-on section also, because I think you can't have a museum, which to me is a place of learning, and you expect children to come in and not touch anything, and expect adults to not touch anything. We are the worst. Are you kidding me?
I know.
All of the miniature doll houses that we have are so amazing, and you should see everybody. People will just peer. We have these big magnifying glasses, and people will pick them up at the
Oh, it's
front
so
desk, and
cool.
they'll peer into the
I
doll
love
houses
it.
and looking for this, that, or the other,
I
and
love it. That is so great.
it is fun. But so when I hear parents or grandparents tell their children, "Don't touch. This is a look not touch place," I say, "Well, I don't want to correct you, but we have lots of hands-on. So if
Right.
unless it says don't touch it,
Right,
feel
right,
free
right. Feel
to
free. Right. Yeah.
pick it up, examine it,
Right.
ask questions."
I mean, it just seems like such a fun place to be,
It is
besides being educational, like you said, I think if you come into a space where you feel like you can't participate in it,
right.
then I think that's a little bit more daunting, especially for kids, like they want to be able to be
Absolutely,
part of things, so I
absolutely.
do love that fact about that.
One of the other interactive pieces we have is a new audio tour. And
Mm,
so we were awarded a grant from the Canon Foundation for that, and we're thankful. And it's just really made a difference because people can pick and choose what they want to learn more about. So we're looking forward to enhancing that. And I'm hoping
mhm.
in the future it'll have some sort of virtual reality
Oh,
goggles
that would
and
be so cool.
some sort of more of an interactive way to explore the
Yeah,
museum through
yeah.
those. So, yeah.
Wow. That sounds great. I mean, you guys have gone, like you said, from You went four, you went 4,000. Now you're going to 9,500, you said?
Yes,
Wow,
yes, yes.
that is so cool. So now look, I mean, I know people are listening to this, go, oh, the museum sounds great. And they thought about, oh, let's do this museum. What were the challenges? Because let's
Oh,
be real,
yes.
like, we're talking
Yeah,
about entrepreneurship too. Like, what were the
yeah,
challenges of
absolutely.
creating a museum?
Right.
Like,
Well, because I didn't have a background in museum studies, I always sort of felt like I was behind the eight ball. I
mm,
mean, granted, I had a great education in marketing and English literature, but that, has helped along the way. But, really not having any
mhm,
entrepreneurial classes, I always felt behind the eight ball. But I think having the foresight to set the museum up as a nonprofit really has been our saving grace. And
okay.
then the fact that, my mom was able to buy the building and it was able to
Hmm.
just be, and, not having
Hmm.
that burden of having a
Right.
um, rent every month hanging over you has been,
Yeah.
really a tremendous benefit. And
Hmm.
I had thought that was going to be our, forever home, but we quickly saw that we have outgrown our space. And so the new location has been donated to us in perpetuity. So as long as
Oh,
we're
that's
around,
beautiful.
it's there, and it's really to be utilized by the community. I mean, that was the whole purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and, I think too, the success has been really partnering with other people in the community, having interns from the local college come in and help us, write descriptions, doing research and writing descriptions on items, partnering with the local museum councils in the state.
Right. Okay.
Those things have really been beneficial. And then,
Hmm.
convincing people that it's important for them to, buy a membership to the museum. $35 doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you get a collective community that believes in what you're doing, and it's something that's
Yes.
affordable donation that they can make to
That they
help.
can make. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I think that's been great. And then just staying relevant, trying to stay
Yes.
on trend with, you know, what is
Staying on
happening.
trend with anything is daunting.
Right, right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And just trying to make the museum relevant.
Hmm. Yes.
With,
That's important.
for example, Madame Alexander. I mean, almost everybody has heard that name before if
Yep.
you're a doll collector, but if you're not a doll collector,
Right.
trying to find ways to have programming at the museum that connects young people who are 7, 8, 10 years old, and their
Right.
parents or their grandparents or great grandparents have heard about Madame Alexander, the
Right. And they're
things.
like, who are they? Like,
Right,
yeah. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we've been able to do a lot, I think, is through American Girl, because there's still a large group of young
Yes. Hmm.
girls and boys that are
Yes.
collecting
American
American
Girl
Girl,
dolls.
and the
Yeah,
story
exactly.
for the historical characters is so strong.
Yeah,
So,
very
being able
true.
to have fun days around that, and like I say, we try to do so much in the community with Toys for Tots, and um, you name it, we've done it. We try to partner with Nickelodeon and the American Children's Museum Association, and we participated in their day of play, and we had a hula hooper come out, and
Oh,
we had
nice.
Giant Connect 4, and so it was so much fun. And so everybody says to me, "Well, no wonder you're enjoying what you're doing." I thought,
Because
you know,
you get to play too in the sandbox, right?
absolutely. Are
You
you kidding
do.
me? Absolutely. And
That's
then
so funny.
meeting so many wonderful people
Yes.
along the way has been just, to me, the bonus,
Yeah.
just the icing on the cake. Because I tell people all the time, I may have lost my sister, but I gained a whole new family of friends and people who are like minded. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for that.
I like how you said that, right? The fact that like you may have lost somebody that you cared about, but
Yes.
you've gained so many other people who care about what your sister cared about, who care about what you care about, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
who care about what the museum is about. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
How do you balance your life, with building this museum? And the other part of that is how do you balance preserving the history of the
Yes.
dolls and making
Okay.
sure that the
Gotcha.
museum stays relevant?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a challenge. It is definitely a challenge. I spent, 20 years at IBM working in a very
Oh
fast-paced,
yes, fast paced.
a
Mm-hmm.
worldwide marketing team, and so I'm blessed. I was able to leave that job and really focus on the museum full time,
Oh
and
nice.
I think learned a lot of skills how to cope and manage my personal life and my business life when I was working full time there. And so
Oh, that's good.
now it does seem a little more challenging though, because it's so much fun. You never want to walk away from what you're doing, and it's always one more doll show or one more miniature show or, another, you're constantly listening to podcasts or you're listening to,
Yeah,
and,
I
you're
I
becoming
understand.
yeah, and staying in tune with what's going on.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's just having a good support system, and all of the volunteers that we have are so amazing, and they really have become like family. And they'll say, "Oh, let me help you with that. What can I do?" And we are just the growth of the museum has been so exciting because we have so many people who are interested. It's not just me out there. We have a great group, and our board is just wonderful. They all come with ideas, and um,
nice.
it's been awesome,
That's
awesome.
really really cool. So if you could sum up the museum, sum up the heart of the
Oh
museum in
wow.
one sentence, what would that be for you?
Mm, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever summed up anything in one sentence. That's definitely not in my nature. But I think, honestly, I think the museum is just such a place of opportunity for so many people in our community, no matter what background they've come from. But it's a place for people to feel empowered, a place for them to learn about history, a place for them to connect with like minded people. Um, it's really a hub.
Yeah.
I want it to be a community hub.
It's so funny. It leads into the other question, the last question I was going to ask you. What legacy, right,
Mm.
do you hope to leave, for this museum, for future generations and doll lovers?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Well, none of us ever think about, mortality, but I think, mm, when we started the museum, it was so important for me to honor my sister because I felt like she had been such a trailblazer for her generation. When we were growing up, handicap accessible
Yes.
facilities were not, it wasn't anything ever mandatory, and I remember the school system wanting to send my sister to a school 30 minutes from our house because our local school didn't have the handicap facilities that she needed. And my mom said, absolutely not. These are, she's grown up in this community.
Right.
These are her friends, this is her family. And so it was important for me to really keep Amy's legacy and her memory
Yes.
alive. And along the way, I've just met so many people that have impressed me and about what they've done with their life and how they've made their mark, that I hope the museum will always be available for anybody and everybody who wants to learn, who wants to have thoughtful discussions about the people who came before us, about the creators, about women who've
Yeah.
made these dolls and doll clothes and accessories, and how they forged a career out of nothing,
Nothing.
and they were
Yeah.
able to have other women in their villages and in their communities give them a job and a voice where
Yeah.
none had ever existed before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hope the museum will just continue to be a place that people can, come and learn about education and preservation and the history of
Yeah.
people in general. I mean, it is kind of like a civic. Always when you're filling out grants, they'll always ask you, "What kind of museum do you have?" And I'm always going, which box does it go in?" Because it just covers the gambit,
Yeah, I think too, it kind of helps build the foundation, right, as well.
Right.
Because you come into the space and you get to, like you said, learn history. about so many different things in there, not just dolls, it's toys, it's miniatures. You get to play with that stuff. And I think it builds a foundation, different types of foundation to how you think
Absolutely.
about things, and
Right.
how you
Absolutely.
look at things, from like, oh, that's not just a doll. Oh, that's not just that little toy. Like it meant something to somebody, and now it means
Right.
something to you because you know the history of that.
Right.
And
Right.
I also think, like you said, it's a tribute to your sister, but it's also a tribute to the people who've had that same type of rare form of what your sister had, that, you know what I mean, unbeknownst to her, really, she's created something from that,
Right. Absolutely.
of being able to live with that for that long, being able to affect people in their lives, be able to love on the dolls that now you guys have taken and moved to someplace else, and
Right.
offered everybody else a better opportunity to see that, and they could do the same. They could
Yeah.
be a catalyst in anything in their lives. So
I
I
think
love
so,
it.
absolutely. Well, and I think she would have been really happy that Mattel came out with a Barbie that was in a wheelchair,
Yes,
you know?
yes,
I mean, Amy was born in 1974, and when, she was in elementary school, we had like an umbrella stroller, one of those little
yes,
push
little
strollers.
folded things. Yes,
Yes, and
yes,
that's the way we, like, toted Amy around everywhere. She was in the 5th grade before she got a wheelchair. I mean, it just, and I
yes.
I look at
Mm,
how far,
yeah, yeah,
handicap,
yes.
accessories and
Yes.
handicap.
Acceptance too.
Yes,
Just acceptance, that
absolutely
you
has
live here, that you're still a living person, who has
yes,
feelings and
yes,
needs to get around and have mobility and create a life for yourself no matter what the challenges are.
right,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
I think she would be, like, super happy about
Yeah,
that,
I think
and,
she would be. I think she would be
one
too.
of the things we've made sure that we have included in our new museum is, everything is handicap accessible,
Yes.
and that's one of the first and foremost thoughts I had when we were designing the space, because I thought, can Amy get in here? Can Amy, could
Right.
Amy see
Yes.
this and do this? And so,
That's so
um,
beautiful.
yeah, I'm very proud of that.
So beautiful. Well, you guys done an amazing job, and I'm so excited. I'm so glad that your mother said, "Hey, let's do a museum."
Right, right, and especially in a time when doll museums are closing, by the drove,
Yes, and
it
that's
and
so true.
it has been a challenge, but, I think that our doll community is interested in learning about the history and,
Yes,
learning about, the future too. I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
love some of the new designers and some of these
yes.
new dolls that are coming out that are on the
Me too.
market,
I love it.
and
I
so
love it.
being able to have a play space to bring it all together,
Yeah.
love that.
I love it. I love it too. I mean, I love seeing all this, like you said, the new dolls, the new ideas, the new designers, all of those people. I love the fact that like me, allow them and give them space to showcase and shine and
Absolutely.
share their amazing work with so many other people who have never knew who they were. So I thank you for that too. I thank you for being that space as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, I love your museum. I love the things that you've done. I'm so excited that you've grown, and I can't wait to see what the new space looks like. And
Absolutely.
I'm so excited about that. So thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
Georgette.
sharing your story, Beth, and
Thank
for
you.
sharing your museum with us. So where people can find out about you if they want to come visit, and or let us know when they can come visit the new space, but just share all your information with us.
Absolutely. Well, our new location is 440 South Salisbury Avenue in Spencer, North Carolina. Our web address is ncmdtm.org, and that's for North Carolina Museum of Dolls, Toys, and Miniatures. And you can follow us on Facebook at NC Doll Museum.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Beth, so much for being on the Dompreneur podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited about you sharing part of this dream that you and your mother wanted to put together for your sister. And it's very touching. And I read your story, I was very touched by it. And I know that she is looking down and she is very touched of everything that you have grown this museum to be. I just know that her heart is just so full because it is a beautiful testament to the things that she loved to do, and it is a beautiful legacy that you're leaving to the community. So thank you so much again for being on the Dompreneur podcast.
Thank you, Georgette.
You're so welcome. Bye now. Thank you so much for joining us at the Dollpreneur Podcast. We really hope you enjoyed the episode and feel inspired by our amazing guests, as well as learn something new about the creative people within the doll community. So don't forget to visit our website at www.thedollpreneurpodcast.com for more content. And please, we would love for you to stay connected to us. So please subscribe to the Dollpreneur Podcast newsletter, YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook pages. And they can all be found at the website www.thedollpreneurpodcast.com. Thank you again for listening to the Dollpreneur Podcast. And until next time, have a doll fabulous day. Thank you so much for joining us at the Dollpreneur Podcast. We really hope you enjoyed the episode and feel inspired by our amazing guests, as well as learn something new about the creative people within the doll community. So don't forget to visit our website at www.thedollpreneurpodcast.com for more content. And please, we would love for you to stay connected to us. So please subscribe to the Dollpreneur Podcast newsletter, YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook pages. And they can all be found at the website, www.thedollpreneurpodcast.com. Thank you again for listening to the Dollpreneur Podcast. And until next time, have a doll fabulous day.